Hey everyone, it's me. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna look at the story of Cain and Abel, the first murder. You know, we all have free will. God gave us that. He gave us the ability to choose between right and wrong. And in this story, sadly, one of the brothers chose wrong, chose murder. Let's see what we can learn from it. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 4, starting at verse 3. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering to the Lord of the fruit of the ground. And Abel, he also brought a sacrifice to the Lord of the firstborn of his flock. Their father Adam was a farmer. Their mother Eve was a homemaker. And so Cain, his offering to God was probably grain or fruit or something like that. Abel, he offered a blood sacrifice, a lamb, a ram from his flock. Now, the word offering here in the book of Genesis is actually the Hebrew word minsya, and it means properly to pour out, to present, to lay before. So these offerings, they were presented, they were laid out before God. And there's a very interesting commentary about this. It says that each of these offerings, they were exactly alike except for the blood. Each offering was exactly alike. Abel's offering, it had blood. Cain's offering, it didn't have blood. So the key difference between these two offerings was the shedding of blood. So then we read in verse 4, "And the Lord, he looked upon Abel and his offering, but he turned away from Cain and his offering." Now, why did he turn away from Cain? What was wrong with Cain's offering? Well, there's a couple things. Number one, he offered the fruit of the ground, whereas Abel offered the firstborn of his flock. So there was a greater value on Abel's offering than there was on Cain's offering. But number two, and probably most important, was the fact that Cain's offering, it lacked blood. And many scholars believe that blood was symbolic of the covenant between God and man. And that's found throughout the Old Testament. Blood, it speaks of the covenant. And if you're going to break the covenant, you have to shed blood. So because there was no blood in Cain's offering, God rejected it. And so now we have the first case of jealousy in the Bible, where we read in verse 5, "And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell." Now, what should Cain have done? He should have repented. He should have been sorry. But instead, he was angry. He was angry because God accepted Abel's offering and rejected his offering. And now we read in verse 7, "If you do well, you will be accepted. If you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is toward you, but you must master it." Now, what does this mean? That sin is crouching at the door, and its desire is toward you, but you must master it. Well, what we have here is an invitation to repent, to turn from his sin, to turn from his anger, to turn from his disobedience. But instead, verse 8 tells us that Cain, he talked with Abel, his brother, and they went out into the fields. And when they were there, Cain rose up against his brother Abel and killed him. Oh man, what a tragedy. God made man. Man kills man. Isn't that sad? But that's what happened. And now we have the first murder in the Bible, the first murder by human hands. And then verse 10 says, "And the Lord said to Cain, Where is your brother Abel? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Now, how could he say that? How could he say, "Am I my brother's keeper"? They just had this conversation. God told him, "You know, if you do well, you'll be accepted." And then he killed him. He murdered him. And so verse 11 says, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." And now notice, the ground, it speaks. The earth, it speaks. And so we read in verse 12, "When man kills man, the earth, it's going to be grieved. And now the earth, it's going to cry out." And so, what's the lesson here? Well, no. 1. God gave man the ability to choose, but he gave man the responsibility to choose, right? And secondly, when we choose wrong, sin will be crouching at the door. But you have the ability, you have the power to choose right over wrong. Choose life, choose God, reject sin. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be blessed.